In today's video, I'm going to be sharing a lesson that I learned this weekend about how to shift my time horizons, and it has completely changed the way that I feel about the progress that I'm making in my business. So if you are somebody who's working towards a big goal and you're just not feeling like you're making enough progress, or you're feeling like kind of down with how much you have accomplished so far, watch until the end, because I guarantee if you adopt this similar mindset shift, you're going to feel a lot better about the progress that you're making. So for me, this is something that came up this weekend as I was realizing that it's kind of the end of the third quarter in business. This is always a time where I'm starting to reflect on what progress have I made this quarter and what are my goals for the following quarter. And this is just always the way that I operate in terms of business, in terms of life. Towards the end of September is just that reflective time for me and thinking ahead. And maybe you're the same way. And if you're in this point in time where you're reflecting on the progress that you've made and you're not happy with where you're at, like, just know that that's actually how I feel right now. So for me, like, one of the biggest things that I've experienced this past quarter is going from being an employee to a full-time entrepreneur. I'm about 3 months into the process where I quit my job about 3 months ago, went all in on this coaching business, on content creation, on speaking, on serving, and really just going all in on my mission. And as I reflect on it, I've had some really high highs. I've also had some lows. And right now I'm kind of in the point where it's like, I just feel like I should be farther ahead than I am right now. I feel like I should be coaching more clients. I feel like I should be making more money. I feel like my podcast and this YouTube channel should have more subscribers. I feel like I should have more Instagram followers by now for the content that I've created. And like, that's just real. Like, that's just how I felt, because so much of the time, like, as a high achiever, you set these big goals and you have this big vision. And this weekend I was listening to a bunch of different podcasts, and one of the podcasts that I've loved recently is called The Game by Alex Hormozi. He is probably the person that I'm spending the most time with from an entrepreneurial side. I'm just binging all of his podcasts, his YouTube channel. He is a serial entrepreneur, and he has around 4 businesses that I think are all valued at over $100 million. Started with a gym business, has a software company, has a B2B company, a B2C company. And the thing that I really admire about him is not just the success in business, but just how articulate he is about the process of growing a business and kind of who you need to become. And he has one of the absolute best mindsets in terms of how to be a learner, how to be a long-term thinker, and just how to be a strategist. And I feel like I heard this quote at the perfect time, where he's talking about the value of extending your time horizons. So at the same time that I'm in this place where I'm like, I'm 3 months in and I'm just not feeling like I've made enough progress yet, I heard this quote on a podcast that I want to share with you. And here it is. If you can wait 90 days for the result of the action you've taken, you can win. If you can wait 1 year, you can win big. If you can wait a decade, you can be the best. If you can wait a lifetime, you can change the world. Most people convince themselves that they're smarter than they are by changing courses rather than committing to the obvious thing for an unreasonable amount of time. And I heard that and I was just like, man, I am like I'm thinking so short term. Like, he's talking about if you can wait a year, if you can wait a decade, if you can wait a lifetime. That's true long-term thinking. And I'm sitting here thinking after 90 days that I haven't made as much progress as I would like. So the biggest takeaway for me here is that I'm just thinking too much in the short term, and I need to think more long term. And the reason why I believe so strongly in this, and I just know that it's true, is because time and time again, this has been the case with everything in my life that I'm the most proud of. So I started listing out of the things in my life that I'm most proud of, what are they, and kind of how long did it take for me to get there. So the thing that I'm the most proud of in my life is my relationship with my wife. And that's Emily. And we knew each other for 3 years as friends before we started dating in college. So for 3 years, we were just hanging out, like being friends, like in the same friend group. And then we started dating. And then we dated for about 5 years before we got married. And we've now been married for over 6 years. So that's 3 years of friendship, 5 years of dating, and then 6 years of being married. And that is a lot of time that has led to the result that I'm talking about of just being proud in a very successful, happy, thriving relationship. So that's just one example. Another example is my kids. I've got 2 little girls that I'm super proud of, and I just love them so much. And I realized there's 9 months of pregnancy, and then there's years of waking up, doing the work every single day as a parent. So that's not something that just happened overnight. Then I think about my results in ultra marathons and training. The first one is with an Ironman. So I did my first triathlon in 2013. It was a sprint triathlon. I didn't do an Ironman until 2017, September of 2017. So that's 4 years of training, of triathlon training. And then it was 30 weeks of very specific training just for that Ironman. So again, another example of 3 to 4 years. And then another example that I'm really proud of is doing the Ultraman. So a 3-day, 260 plus mile ultra triathlon. It took me 3 days, 12 hours each day. That was 10 years after I did my first sprint triathlon. So I basically have been training for a decade in order to be able to complete this ultra triathlon, where it was a 6.2 mile swim and then a 90 mile bike ride on day 1. Then it was a 171 mile bike ride on day 2. And then it was a double marathon on day 3. Like, there aren't a lot of people in the world who have done that event, and I am one of them. But it's only because I have been consistently training for a decade. And this is exactly what he's talking about. All of the things that I'm the most proud of, and really like the biggest accomplishments, if you even want to talk about that with my relationships, those amazing things take time. And it's only when you expand your time horizon of how you're measuring yourself that you're able to really make these drastic, like, lifetime accomplishments. And at the same time, I realize that's true of my past, but right now I'm focused on the short term with my business. And it just really like made me realize the problem is not that I'm not doing the right things. The problem is I'm just measuring myself on a too short of a time horizon. And that's really the whole point about today's video and today's episode is, as I bring it back to you, maybe you're in a similar place as me. Maybe you're, in your 30s or 40s, and you're very focused on your career, and you put so much of your self-worth and your identity into like what you do for work. And you feel like you've been working hard and you've been doing all of the right things, but you're not where you want to be in your career. Well, maybe it's just because you're only focused on that short time horizon. Or maybe you're training for a big race, or you're trying to focus on being more consistent, and you just feel like, man, I'm just not where I want to be. Well, where are you measuring yourself? Are you measuring yourself over the past week, the past 2 weeks, the past 3 months, the past 3 years? Expanding the time horizon really shifts your perspective and helps you think differently and feel differently about the work that you're doing. And the thing that I realize is, when I am thinking about my goal, for right now, it's growing and building this successful business that will allow my wife to leave her job, that will allow us to work together, that will allow us to travel as a family and just like live in an abundant way. When I think about like, am I capable of doing this in the next 3 months? I think I could like possibly do that. What about over the next 6 months? What about over the next year? What if I stick with it? What if I keep doing what I'm doing over the next 3 years? What if I keep like doing what I'm doing, creating content, like adding value, putting myself out there for a decade? Do I think I'll be successful? Absolutely. Like, what if I do this for the rest of my life? What if I dedicate myself to this for a lifetime? There is absolutely no way that I will not, like, I will 100% reach my goals and make this a successful thing if I dedicate my entire life to it. It just becomes like, it's so clear to me when I think about it from a 3-month, 6-month, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. When I expand that time horizon, it's inevitable that it's going to work. And all it takes for me is to just come up, expand my time horizon, and I know that it's going to happen. And so that's exactly the type of shift that I want to share with you today. Extend your time horizon. Think about long term and realize that you are probably closer than you think and you're doing the right things. It just is going to take some time. So that's what I have for today. If that helped, definitely like this video, subscribe, add a review if you're listening to the podcast, and just let me know like what you thought about this and let me know what your takeaways are. Thank you for listening. See you in the next one.